Tucker Whitman,
Here.
Andy Dennison,
Present.
Ben Vitale,
Present.
Grant Kyle,
Present.
Paul Pinkney,
Here.
Elaine McNabb Coleman,
Present.
Joseph Forrest,
Here.
Terry Baxter,
Aye.
Joseph Bennett,
Here.
Frank Reginelli,
Here.
Patrick Mahonik is excused, Timothy Lattimore,
Here.
Michael Didio,
Here.
Ryan Foley,
Present.
Keith Batman.
Here. So we could rise for the pledge.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Our sincere condolences to the family and friends of Chris Novak, husband of Cayuga County mental health employee Michelle Novak. He was a New York State Corrections Officer for 20 years. Olga Lucky served as civil service for 35 years, both as executive secretary to the Civil Service Commission.
Thank you. Okay, we have a couple of proclamations. The first one, I think, is a surprise. Lisa Cooper, are you here? Would you come forward? No, if you don't want to come forward, you may stand on your chair. It's your choice.
Sheila, is the microphones on?
Is this one on? Is it on now? I think it was on. Was it on? That was on before. It's on.
Now it's on.
It's on. So at least high. Okay. So, this is a surprise for Lisa, and the recognition from her colleagues, many of whom are here. So, whereas Lisa Cooper was appointed to the position of town clerk in Sterling in January 1996, and has been the town of Sterling's go-to person for 21 years. Lisa was elected in November 1996. She became a certified municipal clerk in July 2005 and went on to earn her master's clerk status in November 2009. Whereas in addition to serving her community as town clerk, Lisa serves as court clerk for the town of Sterling and has also been very active in the Cayuga County Clerks Association throughout all of these years, and serving as a mentor and role model to new town clerks. Whereas Lisa serves as the town's record management officer and was successful in obtaining a New York State Records Management grant for the town's records in 2013. Lisa enjoys challenges, and she can be counted on to tackle any task in order to assist the town supervisor, the board members, the code enforcement officer, the assessor, and all community members who visit her office to ask for her help. Whereas in addition to all of her responsibilities, Lisa organizes and coordinates the annual rabies clinic and annual Easter egg roll. Now therefore, be it resolved that I, Keith Batman, Chairman of the Cayuga County Legislature, Tucker Whitman, Legislator District 1, and fellow legislators, do hereby proclaim our gratitude and urge the residents of our county to join us in recognition of Lisa Cooper Day in Cayuga County, Tuesday, June 27th, 2017. Did you want me in the picture, sir? Charlene, did you want to say a few words?
I do. I do.
Lisa. Lisa, I've known you since 2004, when I was elected the town clerk of Mentz. During my learning curve, you played an important part guiding me with activities I didn't know anything about. If I didn't know how to do something or didn't know how to answer a question, one call, and you were right there and found out the answer. So you helped me along the way. You have taught and helped many town clerks in your years of service to Sterling. You instilled professionalism into the position. You've encouraged us to do our best, and you're a great role model for us, veterans clerks as well as new clerks. You've told us at many a town clerk meetings, I'm only a phone call away. We, the town clerks of Cayuga County, would like to congratulate you on your accomplishments and are proud to support you, Lisa Cooper, as president of New York State Town Clerks Association.
I just want to, real quick, I've known Lisa for about 20 years. In my former jobs, she was the go-to person I called if I needed to know anything about the town of Sterling, any kind of facts, if there were grants, who did this and who did that. It was Lisa Cooper, and she helped me all along the way. And I just want to say a huge congratulations to her. And I know this was a surprise for her tonight. That was one of my favorite things, but I love her, and she's going to do a great job, and New York State is lucky to have her.
I know. Okay, you caught me off guard here. All I have to say is that the town clerks in Cayuga County, we always work together. We don't look at political lines at all, and I don't care what political party you were. I learned from the best from some of the seasoned clerks that are in this county, and we just all work together. We're all trying to do the best job that we can for our residents, and I'm speechless. Thank you.
So could I ask now for the family of Bud Bay to come forward?
You want us all?
I want you all. Again, if you're more comfortable, you may stand in place on the chair. It's whatever makes you more comfortable. So, Joe, do you want to join us, or?
Yeah, I'd like to have it.
So we have a proclamation for Bud Bay, and I'll just say before I say that, I worked with Bud for a number of years. He was supervisor in Genoa, and for a while I was supervisor in Scipio, and then we also worked on and I can't remember if that's when we were supervisors or something else, but we met with Southern Cayuga every year to talk about their budget. I guess that was supervisor work, but he was always a joy to work with. So, whereas Bud Bay was born on February 3rd, 1931, to Gertrude Walters Bay and Claude S. Bay of Cortland. Bud graduated from Cortland High School and then enlisted in the U.S. Navy, where he proudly served from 1950 to 54 on the USS Rehoboth. From there, Bud was employed by the Moravia School District for 38 years, most of them as their transportation supervisor. Bud served as the town of Genoa supervisor for 7 years, and then on the Cayuga County Legislature for 13 years after that. Bud also was a member of the Oddfellows, the Moravia VFW Honor Guard, American Legion, Korean War Veterans, and his final membership, one he greatly valued, the United Church of Genoa. Whereas to all who knew Bud, they will miss his relentless sense of humor and his willingness to help with whatever anyone needed. He enjoyed his family most, especially his 5 grandchildren and his great-grand-dog. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Keith M. Batman, Chairman of the Cayuga County Legislature, and fellow elected officials do hereby proclaim our gratitude and urge the residents of our county to join us in recognition of Claude Bud Kenneth Bay Day in Cayuga County, Tuesday, June 27th, honoring his commitments to his family, his friends, and to his community. And thank you, Bud.
I will just say, I don't necessarily need the microphone, but thank you. Dad would have loved this. And I know it's a thankless job that you all do, being here, and certainly all of you especially too. So, thank you. This was very, very sweet.
Thank you.
The following proclamations have already been presented. June 10th Day in Cayuga County, June 17th, 2017. St. Baldrick's Day, June 11th, 2017. The Wall That Heals, June 1st through June 4th, 2017. And Cayuga County salutes Justin Murillo, Eagle Scout, June 10th, 2017.
Thank you. So at this point, we have a presentation from Joe Stefko from CGR. If I could ask you to come. And I think we have a little PowerPoint. Great.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to present to you tonight. Just to give you a high-level background, a couple of months ago, the county issued a request for proposals to conduct a what you call a comprehensive organizational assessment for Cayuga County. And we had an opportunity maybe about a month or so ago, maybe 6 weeks ago now, to meet with a committee that I know included some members of the legislature, some members, some department heads, some folks from county staff, and share with them how we would go about this project, recommend an approach. And I wanted to share that approach with all of you this evening. I'll do so in maybe 5 minutes or so, and to the extent that you all have questions or comments that you'd like me to respond to, I'll make sure to reserve some time for that. But let me just, first of all, introduce my colleague Pat Smith, who's with me tonight, sitting over there on the legislature's left. What we heard from you in your initial RFP, the scope as you envisioned it for this project, were really a number of kind of critical themes that certainly Cayuga County is not the only one voicing. We're hearing these themes. There's a common element here with your peers across the state. First of all, that you are looking for what you call actionable opportunities to streamline, to refocus, and to reorganize. You think about some of the fiscal and service pressures that you all are dealing with on a day-to-day and certainly a fiscal year-to-fiscal year basis, that your revenue is really constrained to a few major sources, that when you look at the overall fiscal and service ecosystem in which you're trying to make decisions, that there's no single revenue option. There's also no single expenditure reduction option that can fully address the challenges that you face, challenges that seem to intensify year over year. That you've already done some work as a county, some good work, to address the cost side of the ledger, but that we're seeing these recurring cost increases year over year that are really, it's almost a one step forward, 1 or 2 steps backwards. So you laid out a vision for this project that is really predicated on, let me go back one slide here, really predicated on finding cost-cutting inroads through a really detailed, intentional look at some of your fundamental organizational issues. The ways in which you're structured, the way your departments, your staff are structured to deliver essential services, to identify areas where, as a county organization, maybe you're siloed in ways that drive inefficiencies or inhibit productivity. And you wanted to look at opportunities to potentially reorganize, to combine or connect departments and functions in ways that that leverage synergies, that can allow for increases in efficiencies, economies of scale. So the project objectives, as we articulated them in our proposal and CGR's proposal to the county, really were fourfold. Number one, to begin our work by doing an in-depth, really intentional, detailed existing conditions review. It's one of the things we do at the beginning of every project of this type, is really spend some time getting our arms around what services do you deliver, what functions operate here in the county, and how do you do each of those. Secondly, and this of course directly connects to the scope that you originally envisioned in the RFP, was to identify policies, procedures, what factors exist today that might be inhibiting your productivity or your effectiveness or your efficiency. And then thirdly, to use that as the pivot point to then start to ask some of the what-if questions. What might be opportunities to reorganize, to redirect, to allocate resources potentially in different ways? What could the impact of those changes be? And then finally, to work with you to prioritize the next steps. I know one of the things that was envisioned in your initial RFP, and certainly one of the things that we're deeply committed to at CGR, is making sure that our recommendations aren't academic, they're not theoretical, but that they really are actionable. I've included, I'm going to skip over the next couple of slides, a little background on our organization, on our team, on our areas of expertise, but suffice it to say that, number one, I feel very strongly that our team is not just a good fit, but probably the best fit to do this kind of work. We frankly, not only have we been doing this kind of work for 102 years here in the state of New York, but we do more work with local governments, from the county government to the smallest municipality, than really any other similar organization in the state of New York. We have some key principles that govern our work on a project like this. Number one, that there's no substitute for objective, fact-based data collection. That's why we spend those first few months really getting our arms around what services are delivered and how you deliver them. That we don't see ourselves as the decision makers here. We really are kind of strategic information providers. You ultimately, as county leaders, elected officials, department heads, county line staff, you all, this is your county, these are your communities. You need to be put in a position to make the decision that makes the most sense for you. In some cases, that may be the decision that saves the most money. In other cases, that may be a decision that doesn't necessarily save money, but improves the quality or scope or scale of a service that you provide. If we do our job, if our CGR team does our job correctly, by the time you're making decisions on, be they individual county services or functions that are carried out here in the county organization, they'll be as informed with objective data information as they can possibly be. Let me just spend a minute talking you through methodologically how we have proposed approaching this project. Think about it in two basic phases. Number one, as I've already mentioned, we would call it our baseline or our existing conditions phase. We're going to really get our arms around, document, evaluate what the county already does, how it does it. Not every county delivers the same services in the same way in New York State. I'm sure I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but planning departments are different in every county. Clerk's offices are different in every county. And what really makes a project like this powerful for you is that it's tailored to you. So we don't put a kind of a mold on top of the way you deliver your services. We're really going to interview folks. We're going to look at organizational documents, and we're going to really deeply understand how you deliver what you deliver. What we're really going to try to do is identify linkages between and among departments. Where do we have common functions playing out behind the scenes in two or more departments? Where do we have gaps that may be opportunities to enhance our capacity, strengthen our efficiency? We're going to document those for you. And then as we pivot to the second phase of our work, really work with you to identify, evaluate, and critically important, prioritize those alternatives. Help you understand the answers to those what-if questions. What if we approached this particular service or this particular function in a different way? And where we end up leaving you, ultimately, is with clear information that allows you to prioritize, number one, the level of impact along the left-hand side, those high-impact projects that have the potential to really drive cost savings. And on the other axis, a sense of what the implementation process, the level of complexity is there. Ideally, what we find are high-impact, easy implementation projects, right? That's our focus. That's really where we can hit pay dirt. But at the same time, we're going to find opportunities, I don't doubt it for a moment, that might be low impact, but easy to implement. What we don't want to do is really focus your attention on low impact, really difficult to implement projects. Time's of the essence. Your jobs don't get any easier year over year. The decisions get tougher, and the fiscal margin for error gets narrower. So in this kind of setup, what we're really trying to do is help you prioritize those opportunities and those decisions going forward. And then ultimately what we will do is report out to you with a final, basically, modeling and analysis of options. We really go to great pains to make sure that that presentation takes place in a standard format. So we are really documenting for you the current state of a service or a function, an internal function, as our team sees it, articulating for you what that problem or issue really is, and then providing for you a review of the alternative or set of alternatives as we see them, with some sense of what the impacts are. Are they, is there a service impact? Is it a service sustainability impact? Is it an opportunity to save money and ease county financial challenges? And then at the bottom of this slide, of course, you see what this county would ultimately be empowered with. And if I were to sum it up into three things, number one, it's really a clear documentation of what our team sees as the productivity and efficiency pinch points, for lack of a better phrase. Where are there opportunities to improve, if we want to look at that from a positive standpoint? Secondly, this preliminary review of alternatives for addressing those efficiency and productivity pinch points. And finally, a prioritization of where we go from here. So if we're handing that baton to you at the end, what are you positioned to do? What follows our work here at CGR? Of course, it's really an opportunity for you as leaders of the county. Again, we're not the decision makers here. It's an opportunity for you all as leaders of the county to identify which of those opportunities you want to prioritize, which ones you want to move forward with, to develop formal implementation plans around them, to begin that dialogue, or hopefully continue that dialogue within the county organization with all the other stakeholders, both inside and outside of this building. The dialogue that's so critically important to moving forward changes on any sort of public service. And then, of course, at the end of the day, implement. Because as I said before, our real passion here is developing for you recommendations and plans that are actionable and will make a positive difference for the county. The last slide I've included in your packet. I'm happy to talk to any or all of these, but I just wanted to give you a sense of kind of at the large municipal or county-wide level, the sort of work that our organization has been involved with over the last 2, 3, 4 years. This is just a sample of projects that, in our perspective, are similar in scale, scope, and general approach to what we've proposed to do for you all here in the county. So with that, I'm happy to try to answer any questions that folks might have.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions? Mr. Lattimore.
Have you studied the type of government that we have versus, let's say, a countywide elected executive?
Have we studied that?
Yes.
We have. We've worked on a number of different charter revisions around the state over the years. If that's something that you wanted to have on the table as part of this project, that's something that we could look at. We had scoped this project to be less a kind of governmental structure and more a service internal process review. But certainly, we've been involved in a number of projects where form and structure of the overarching, basically the overarching governance model is up for discussion, certainly.
Other questions?
Does your studies just specifically speak to employment and organization of employment, or also to space use and department structure as a physical thing?
Yeah, it's really
building or infrastructure.
Yeah, it's not just employment. It really is more. It's employment. It's staff allocation. It's the structure of workload and work processes across departments. It is less on the physical plant side. We are more on the kind of the management and financial and service delivery consulting end. We're not an architectural and engineering firm, so we wouldn't be looking at the kind of the utilization of your physical plant. What we would look at as part of a review here of say your let's say a streets and highway department, what we would typically do is we would look at the space and look at capital needs of that space and the extent to which pending capital investment needs may, absent any other changes, squeeze out your ability to maintain a current staffing level, which you may need to deliver a constant level of service. So that's how that component would interact with this, but it is much bigger than just how many staff do you have, and how could you reduce the number of staff? I mean, that's absolutely not the premise from which we start.
Ms. Whitman?
If this body told you to go ahead and start tomorrow, how long would it take before we were at the implementation stage?
We've scoped the study in such a way that it would be our expectation that by roughly the end of the calendar year, you would have a final report from us. And I think that final report, assuming that you maintain that momentum, by the first quarter of 2018, you would be in a position to make decisions on which opportunities you wanted to pursue, how to prioritize them, which may require some upfront resources to get them moving. But that, just kind of a broad timeline, I would see that as eminently achievable. By the same token, I'd also point out that to the extent that we find opportunities, even when we're doing our baseline review, I mean, as I said at the outset of my presentation, we understand doing this work all over the state that time's of the essence, and you don't want us to sit on a clear opportunity for 4 or 5 months just so it can show up in the final report. So where we see opportunities like that, we're going to bring them to the fore as early in the study as they materialize.
Any other questions?
Do you use working groups with different department heads and legislators, so you gather, that's how you're gathering all the info, it's direct from employees, not top-down approach?
Yep. Yeah, we will tap into the county organization at a variety of different levels. One of the things we were very clear about in our proposal to the county was that as part of the initial baseline review, we'll be interviewing department heads. I think we have something like 30 or 35 interviews contemplated in that first phase. We have traditionally used working groups once we get to that options phase, because we find that the deeper you go within each of the departments, within each of the kind of the sub-organizations of the county, if you will, the richer the data set is when we're trying to think outside of the box and address challenges with new ways of with new approaches. So typically we'll have working groups that will be focused on related service areas. Maybe we'll have a kind of a general back office services area. We'll have a physical services, physical plant and services area. Oftentimes with counties or larger cities, we'll have a public safety working group. And again,